People, what's your most NSFW confession? I did it with my cousin when I was wasted, and I feel like a disgusting person. I feel sick to my stomach even thinking about this, but I need to get it out. I, 30, female, have a cousin, 21, male, whom I've been close with my entire life. He's more like a little brother to me. Someone I bicker with, someone who annoys me at times, but ultimately, he's my buddy. When we hang out, we talk about everything: family, work, relationships, and whatever drama is going on. We're open with each other, and there's always been a level of comfort between us. Sometimes, our conversations include casual mentions of our dating lives, but never in a graphic or inappropriate way. I've even changed clothes in front of him before, still wearing inners, but it never felt weird. There was never any attraction, at least not on my end, and I've never once gotten the impression that he saw me that way either. We don't see each other often since we live 2 hours apart, but we stay in touch. 3 months ago, his brother, another cousin I was also close with, passed away in a tragic accident. His death brought the family closer, so I've seen my cousin more frequently than usual. Earlier this week, he was visiting. On Wednesday night, we decided to go out for drinks. I had a rough day at work, and I was looking forward to letting loose. I started drinking at home before we left, 3 shots of vodka on an empty stomach, while he didn't drink at all. At the bars, I kept drinking heavily, dark beers compared to the lighter ones he was having. At some point, we grabbed a 6-pack and headed back to my place before the bars closed. Back at home, we were in my room, watching TV, and I was already way too drunk. My bed is small, so space was limited, especially with him being 6 feet 3 inches. He wanted to smoke a bowl, and in my drunken state, I agreed. Normally, I'd never allow that in my room, but I was too out of it to care. Then, for some reason, I decided to take a few hits myself, which is very unlike me. At some point, we were lying there, lights off, watching TV, and I was half leaning on him. And then, something shifted. I don't understand why or how, but I suddenly felt this feeling. It was a physical reaction that seemed to come out of nowhere. I don't even want to go into the details of what happened next, but things escalated. I initiated contact. I pushed against him. It went further than it ever should have. The worst part, something happened between us that I can't even fully process. I don't remember making that choice, but I know it happened. To be clear, he didn't force me into anything. But I also know I wasn't the one to initiate everything that followed. And now, I'm left sitting in the same room where it happened, feeling disgusted and ashamed. I don't have words strong enough to describe the depth of my regret. I feel like I've done something unforgivable. The guilt is crushing. I don't know how to move forward, how to make sense of this. It's a mistake that will haunt me for the rest of my life, and there's no way to undo it. I feel like a horrible person. I'm terrified of what this will do to me mentally, if I'll spiral into depression, if I'll break under the weight of it. I never imagined something like this could happen to me. And yet, here I am with this crap on my conscience until the day I die. Before we continue, do us a quick favor. Smash that like button and subscribe to support our channel. Story 2. I kissed my boyfriend's twin unknowingly, and he let me. Now I can't stop thinking about doing it with him. I, male, 29, have been in a happy and healthy relationship with my boyfriend for almost 2 years now. I've never felt more loved, appreciated, or secure in any relationship before, and things have been easy between us. But lately, I've been struggling with some dissatisfaction. Don't get me wrong, the intimacy I share with Marcus is amazing, slow, passionate, and loving. But despite all that, I've started to feel this strange craving for something more, and that's led me to a bit of a problem, an attraction to his twin brother. Until recently, I never really saw Michael in an intimate way. Sure, they're identical, and I've always been aware of that physical attraction, but it was never anything more than that. Lately, though, I've started noticing the differences between the two of them. Marcus is sweet and shy, while Michael is more confident, outgoing, and often the life of the party. He's the one cracking the best jokes, and it's that boldness that's begun to spark new thoughts in me. I've tried to suppress these thoughts about how different their personalities would translate in the bedroom, but lately, I haven't been able to push them down as much. A few nights ago, I had dinner with Marcus at his apartment, which he shares with Michael. We all ate together, had some small conversations, and then after dinner, I volunteered to wash the dishes. Marcus left to use the bathroom, and when I returned to the living room, I saw Michael sitting on the couch alone. I thought it was Marcus at first, since they often dress similarly, just with small differences like different watches or glasses. Without thinking, I curled up next to him on the couch, expecting it to be Marcus. But instead of pushing me away or correcting me, Michael wrapped his arm around me and gave my backside a squeeze. I was confused but also pleased, thinking Marcus had somehow figured out what I wanted. I leaned in for a kiss, and just as our lips met, I felt a hesitation before Michael deepened the kiss. It was everything I'd been missing: intense, passionate, and completely irresistible. But before we could go any further, my phone rang in the other room. I assumed it was an important call I had been waiting for, so I reluctantly pulled away and went to answer it. It turned out to be a wrong number. After sorting it out, I went back to the living room, only to be greeted by Michael, who was still waiting eagerly on the couch. But before I could sit down, Marcus wrapped his arms around me and kissed the sensitive spot on my neck, something only he knows about. At that moment, I realized what had happened. From the look in Michael's eyes, he knew I had figured it out too. Neither of us spoke about it the rest of the night, and I spent the evening there without any more incidents. But in the back of my mind, I couldn't stop thinking about how things could have progressed had I not been interrupted by that phone call. Now, I'm struggling with these thoughts that won't go away. I feel torn between my loyalty to Marcus and my growing desire for Michael. I know that whenever Marcus isn't around, Michael gives me these hungry looks, and I can't lie. I enjoy them. I've tried to push these thoughts away, but I can't stop fantasizing about what might have been. I don't want to hurt anyone or strain my relationship with Marcus, but I can't deny the temptation. Story 3. I love my girlfriend, but want to have relations with other women. I know this might sound like the stereotypical guy perspective on intimacy, but I'm really not sure if I believe in monogamy. My girlfriend and I are both over 30, we own a home together, and we have an amazing relationship. She truly gets me, and I'm constantly reminded of how cool she is. I love her deeply and wouldn't trade what we have for anything. But at the same time, I still have this undeniable desire to sleep with other women. Women are incredible, inside and out. Sure, some are unpleasant, just like some men are, but overall, I love talking to them, listening to them, looking at them, flirting, and especially that rush of being intimate with someone for the first time. I tend to see physical relations through an evolutionary lens. Humans weren't really built for monogamy, so why wouldn't I want to experience other women? The idea of seeing them bare, sharing a brief moment of passion, and having them desire me in return is intoxicating. In early human history, it was essentially a free-for-all. Yes, oversimplified, but still. And that's part of how genetic diversity was maintained. As the movie Bulworth put it, everybody just needs to keep banging everybody else until we all turn the same color. And honestly, that idea speaks to me. I want to experience every flavor that wants to be tasted. That said, I've never cheated on my girlfriend, and I don't intend to. I also know that what sounds like the perfect no-strings-attached open relationship usually turns into a complete disaster. But even with that knowledge, the urge for something new won't go away. In fact, the longer we're together and the more committed I am, the stronger it seems to get. It's not about wanting to replace her or see what else is out there in terms of relationships. I just crave the freedom to sleep with any woman who wants to sleep with me. And no, my girlfriend isn't into anything open. If I cheat, I'm done. No second chances, no let's talk about it, just over. I know I'm not alone in feeling this way, but this is the first time I've really struggled with it, because I'm with the woman I want to spend my life with. And that's what makes it so complicated. Story 4. I took back my cheating ex just to mess with her head. My ex and I had been together for 2 years when I realized she was the one I wanted to spend my life with. We never argued, always got along well, and I trusted her completely. I felt like everything was perfect, so I bought a ring, one that she had admired in passing, and planned to propose after our vacation. I even called her dad to arrange a lunch, intending to ask for his permission to marry his daughter. But just days before I planned to propose, she suddenly stopped responding to my calls and texts. We usually talked every day, so this sudden silence was unusual. I decided to check on her after work. We had keys to each other's houses, and it wasn't uncommon to let ourselves in when needed. When I arrived, her car wasn't in the driveway, but I noticed an SUV I didn't recognize. I went inside with the intention of leaving her a note to call me. When I opened the door to her bedroom, I heard the shower running and her voice coming from the bathroom. I froze when I realized I heard a male voice as well. I took a couple steps into the room and realized they weren't speaking. They were panting and moaning. I was listening to my girlfriend get plowed by another man. While I had no intention of confronting them, I still wanted to see it with my own eyes, so I walked to the open door of the bathroom and looked into the mirror that faced the shower. Sure enough, there they were. I left, and almost as soon as I got home, she texted, "Hey, sorry I've been out of touch. I've been staying at my mom's because I was sick." I ignore her calls/texts for a couple days and return the ring before I finally confront her in person. She loses it. She calls me a stalker, says I invaded her privacy, and she's glad she cheated on me because I'm such a piece of crap. She won't answer me on how long it had been going on or who he was. So I left. Fast forward several months. My ex is in a relationship with the same guy, and I'm casually seeing a younger girl I really like, but know I have no long-term future with. She's drop-dead gorgeous, witty as hell, has an insatiable appetite for intimacy, and she's an incredible cook. The only downside is she's a huge party animal. It doesn't matter what day of the week it is or what time she has to get up in the morning, she's getting staggering drunk like it's her frigging job. She never pressures me to get serious or commit, so I figure I'll ride it out until the endless partying gets on my nerves. After finding out I'm seeing someone, my ex starts blowing my phone up, apologizing and begging me to take her back. She says it was a stupid mistake. She said I worked too much and didn't pay enough attention to her, but she's never stopped loving me. She said being with someone who doesn't appreciate her helped her realize I'm the best thing that ever happened to her. I don't want her back in the slightest. The minute I saw her cheating, I was done with her. I've spent months being heartbroken over breakups before, but for some reason, actually seeing her infidelity helped me instantly move on. Not to mention there weren't a few sleepless nights, but I didn't sit around pining for her. As far as I was concerned, she was trash, and I was over it. I initially ignored her, but decided that she had presented me with a premium opportunity to exact some revenge. I call her back and tell her I'm willing to talk, but give no indicator on which way I'm leaning in terms of reconciliation. I arrange to meet her at a park near her house and show up 15 minutes late. She's sweating bullets, chain smoking, visibly trembling, upper lip quivering while she begs for forgiveness. At this point, I didn't really have a plan in place. I just knew that I wanted to mess with her. So, I let her beg. I eventually cut her off and asked, "How can I ever trust you again?" "She'll earn it back," she said. "She'll work tirelessly to regain my trust, and she'll show me how important I am to her." I'm intrigued to see how far I can push her. So, I tell her I'm willing to give it a shot, when in reality, I'm just scheming ways to make her feel like total crap about herself. She invites me back to her place where she immediately starts giving me blowy. We bang. She always liked it a bit rough, so I made it really rough. She couldn't be happier. She falls asleep and I sneak out. I checked my phone and had a booty call text from Party Animal, so I told her to meet me at my place. We get roaring drunk and bang. In the morning, I walk her out and see that there's a piece of paper taped to my windshield. It's from X. It says, "Just wanted to tell you how much I love you. Have a good day, Zoxo." When I realized she came over to leave me a love note while I was in bed with another woman, I feel an immense sense of satisfaction. So, I kept it up for a couple months. I never told Party Animal that I was banging my ex, but I got the feeling she wouldn't really care. One of my friends said he saw her at his bar, making out, and eventually leaving with some dude, so I figured she was doing the same thing, and it didn't really matter. I never outright told my ex I was banging anyone else, but occasionally I dropped some not-too-subtle hints about my affection for Party Animal. Since she was playing the penitent role, she wasn't in a position to accuse me of anything or even show signs of discontent. I took it up a notch. I started making X buy my groceries, cook me dinner, take my car to her father's auto detailing shop and get my car cleaned, run my errands, and give me blowies on command. One night, she came over, made me dinner, and packed my gym bag for the morning. We banged, and then she broke down and cried. She sobbed and said, "I want to be your wife. I want to be yours forever." When that line sank in, I realized I had tortured her enough. But not before I used it as an excuse to end it with her. I acted shocked, said that it was too much too soon, and that she was suffocating me. Told her to go home, and I'd call her when I was ready to see her again. She was shaking with long, racking sobs, and she begged me not to make her leave. Pangs of genuine guilt were prevalent as I realized I had really taken this too far, and my ego had gotten out of control. I never spoke to her again. She attempted to get a hold of me incessantly for a couple of months, stopped by the house a few times, luckily never when I was home, and even showed up to my job asking to speak to me. But I managed to avoid every attempt, and eventually she gave up. She got back with the same guy she cheated on me with. They're engaged now. Party animal and I had a bit of a falling out when I decided I couldn't keep up with her manic partying, but we eventually became very good friends. No matter how much I may have thought so at the time, X didn't deserve what I did to her. I surprised myself with how much pleasure I took in hurting her, and it eventually started to sicken me at how I was acting. I can't necessarily say I'm proud of myself, but at least a little part of me was satisfied. Story 5. I did it with my friend's girlfriend while he was sleeping next to her. Context: my friend is dating a girl, and one of my other friends has feelings for her. They've been fighting about it for over 2 months now, and it's causing a lot of tension in our already small friend group. I never had feelings for the girl before, and I still don't. There have even been times when I didn't like her at all. One night, after we'd all gotten stoned, eaten, and watched TV, my friend, his girlfriend, and I went to my room for one last joint before heading to sleep. After we smoked, we all lay down, and I ended up facing the girl's back. While I was lying there, sort of tripping out, I realized I had gotten a stiffy, and I could tell she had noticed because she was coming closer to me. After a few minutes of this, it became clear that she was doing it intentionally, so I instinctively pulled her closer. She turned around, looked at me, and kissed me. From there, things escalated. Meanwhile, my friend was sleeping just a few inches away. She turned back to face him. We full-on banged while he was still asleep beside us. The next morning, she didn't acknowledge anything that had happened, so I thought it might have been a dream. But after thinking about it more, I realized there's no way it was, since I never woke up from it. The worst part of this is that my friend is terrified that she'll cheat on him with the other guy, since she's been to his house a few times and deletes all of her Facebook messages. She's admitted that she likes the other guy, but stayed with my friend because she loves him. She's never mentioned liking me or anything like that, so it feels like if she were willing to cheat with me, she'd probably cheat with him too. I'm really torn and don't know what to do. Story 6. I met a girl online whose pictures were really nice, and we hit it off after she messaged me, complimenting my taste in music. I thought, cool, someone who actually knows the bands I like. We started talking, and during the usual "tell me about yourself" phase, she casually mentioned that she only had one hand. It was mixed in with jokes and sarcasm, so I wasn't sure if she was serious. Later, when I asked for clarification, she said, "Yep, got attacked by a narwhal when I was a kid." None of her pictures showed anything that suggested a missing hand, so I figured she was joking. At first, I felt conflicted. My grandfather had only one hand, and I have some mobility limitations myself, so the way she joked about it threw me off a little. But before I could think too much about it, she completely changed the subject, steering the conversation toward much more adult topics. After a few days of talking, she told me she really wanted to meet in person and strongly hinted at intimacy. She said she had a very high drive and basically guaranteed things would happen if I came over. We hadn't met yet, but I said okay and made the 2-hour drive to her place. When I arrived, she opened the door, and it was immediately clear she wanted to head straight to the bedroom. I asked for some water first, and after she got it for me, she took my hand and led me to her room. That's when I realized she really did have one hand. She took off her cardigan, and it was clear. I was caught off guard and blurted out, "Oh, you were serious about that?" She laughed and said, "Yeah, I was born this way. No narwhal involved." I was still processing, but she was pulling me into bed so quickly that I didn't have much time to react. It felt a bit awkward at first, but she clearly wasn't bothered. I tried bringing up the fact that I hadn't realized she was being serious before, but she just giggled, told me to stop talking, and pulled me closer. The experience itself was intense. She was very physically engaged and had a lot of control. Afterward, she told me, "Just so you know, after I'm done, I basically turn into a guy. I'm gonna pass out, and I don't want you to stay over, so can you leave?" I asked if I could shower first, and she agreed, then immediately fell asleep. After I cleaned up, I checked on her, took care of her dog, grabbed my bag, and made the drive back home. I had planned to stay overnight, but she wasn't having it. A couple of days later, she messaged me again, acting like nothing had happened. I was a little annoyed that she had kicked me out so abruptly, but she apologized and said she wanted to see me again. We were both busy, so a few weeks went by before I could visit her again. Halfway through the drive, I realized that part of me was going back out of spite for how she had treated me the first time, and also just for the novelty of being with someone who had one hand. That thought made me uncomfortable. When I arrived, she didn't greet me at the door. It was propped open, and I walked in to find her already on the bed. She told me, "No talking, just get to work." I was thrown off. I wasn't expecting to be in this place, but at that point, I decided to just roll with it. She was very demanding, giving me instructions the entire time. At one point, I needed a drink of water, so I got up to get one, and she actually called out, "Did I say you were done?" Eventually, she was spent and started to fall asleep. I wasn't done yet, and told her I needed her to stay awake. She agreed, but clearly wasn't into it as much this time. It took me a long time because she was so overly sensitive that even light contact sent her over the edge. Afterward, I got up to shower, and by the time I was drying off, she was already snoring. I woke her up to say goodbye, and she got upset that I wasn't staying longer. I said I'd hang out for a bit, but I just sat there on my phone. After about an hour, she woke up again, noticed I had a tent forming from scrolling through Reddit, and made a comment about it. When I told her it wasn't because of her, she playfully grumbled, then immediately got to work before I could even react. I felt conflicted, both used and guilty at the same time. She didn't stop until I was done, and when I did, she seemed confused, saying she couldn't even tell. Then she patted me on the head, said, "Okay, you can leave now," and tried to give me a high five. A few days later, she messaged me again, saying she had started seeing someone she met on Tinder, but wanted to keep me around in case things got sketchy. I told her I'd be too busy with work, so I couldn't be her side piece, her words, not mine, and we stopped talking for a while. Then, out of nowhere, she sent me a message saying, "Just wanted to let you know I got my annual checkup today, and I have chlamydia. You might want to get tested. I don't know if I got it from you, my boyfriend, or someone else. Talk to you later." That infuriated me. I had been diagnosed with cancer just weeks before meeting her, and I'd had extensive blood work done multiple times, all of which were clean. Plus, right before seeing her the second time, I had just finished my first round of treatment and had even more tests done. She kept messaging me, saying it wasn't a big deal, that STDs were like the flu but for your special place, and that she wasn't mad at me. But she also kept trying to subtly blame me. So, I went to my doctors, family doctor, neurologist, and oncologist, and requested full STD panels from all of them. They all understood my situation and had no issue testing me multiple times over 2 weeks. The results? Every single test came back negative. Meanwhile, she was still sending me secret Facebook messages, which I didn't even know was a feature at the time, reassuring me that she wasn't mad and that her boyfriend didn't need to know because they hadn't been together yet. I was angry, both at her for accusing me and at myself for getting involved in the first place. Before her, I hadn't been with anyone in 2 years, and I got tested regularly. So, I made PDF copies of all my test results and sent them to both her and her new boyfriend in a private message. Looking back, I don't know if that was the right thing to do or if I should have just blocked her and moved on. To my surprise, her boyfriend was completely chill about it. He got tested too, came back clean, and thanked me for letting him know. He wasn't even mad at her. Then he casually mentioned that he hoped we could all be friends, which I later realized was code for inviting me into their bedroom. That was my cue to block them both. Even though she was using me just as much as I was using her, I still feel guilty about the whole thing. I regret not being more careful. Ugh, I seriously feel terrible after writing all that. Story 7. One night, my girlfriend, roommate, and I were drinking together, starting around 11 p.m. My girlfriend was the first to get very intoxicated, and by 3 a.m., after throwing up, she went asleep in my bed. After making sure she was okay, I went back outside to wrap up a few things before heading to bed. There were still a couple of beers left, so I finished them before telling my roommate that I was calling it a night. At this point, I was extremely intoxicated. I walked into my room and initiated intimacy with my girlfriend, who woke up and responded positively. I was aware that she was still very drunk, so I kept things simple and made sure she was comfortable. My last clear memory is finishing my job and lying down beside her before passing out. However, I have another memory that I can't fully confirm. In this version, I remember my roommate standing in the doorway at some point, making a joking comment about taking a turn. I vaguely recall responding in a way that suggested I was not fully aware of the situation, possibly giving an unclear or careless response. My next memory is my roommate asking if I was serious, and me drunkenly looking to my girlfriend for confirmation. I don't clearly remember her response, but I assume she was too tired and intoxicated to engage much. Then, I recall lying down and closing my eyes. A while later, I remember feeling the bed moving and hearing sounds that eventually registered as discomfort. When I turned over, I saw my roommate and my girlfriend. My immediate reaction was to tell him off, saying something like, "Can't you see she's trying to sleep?" I remember him looking startled before leaving the room. The next morning, I was extremely hungover and unsure if that second memory actually happened or if it was just a dream. My girlfriend woke up and noticed she wasn't wearing her bottoms, asking if we had done it the night before. My roommate, on the other hand, only asked if he had remembered to put out the bonfire, as he had blacked out before coming inside. For months, I kept the second memory to myself, unsure if it was real. About 8 or 9 months later, I finally talked to my girlfriend about it. She was disgusted at the idea but told me that, after reflecting on that night, she only remembers being with me. She mentioned that a few days after that night, more of her memory returned, and she specifically recalls me waking her up for intimacy. Based on that, she believes that if something else had happened, she would have woken up and remembered it. I have never confronted my roommate about this, and I don't plan to. If my girlfriend doesn't remember it that way, I have to consider that my memory could have been a vivid dream. I still have doubts, but I've always had occasional experiences where dreams felt like real memories. Either way, I did my best to address it with my girlfriend, and I feel some relief having spoken about it. Story 8. This is a throwaway account because I'm deeply ashamed of my actions. Earlier this year, I, male, teen, was hanging out with one of my friends. She was distracted by something and let me use her phone to play a game. She's an attractive person, and more importantly, she's best friends with 2 girls I had a serious crush on at the time. I made a huge mistake. I was feeling impulsive, and I ended up looking at pictures of them on her phone. Pictures that were completely innocent, just casual photos of them hanging out. I know it wasn't okay, but I found myself attracted to them. Since I couldn't act on it at the moment, because it was someone else's phone and we were in a public place, I made a very poor decision. I emailed some of those pictures to myself and deleted everything afterward, so there would be no trace. Then I saved those pictures onto my own phone. Since then, I've occasionally looked at those photos during my private sessions, but I deeply regret it. I know now that my actions were wrong, and I understand the potential harm I could have caused if anyone ever found out. I've deleted the pictures, but I'm left with the guilt of what I did. I realize that what I did was hurtful and invasive, and I want to make things right somehow. Does anyone have suggestions for how I can repair the harm I've caused, or at least take steps to restore some of the moral balance I upset with my actions? Story 9. So, today at work, I made a big mistake. I work as a security guard, and sometimes I get bored and start doodling. Today, I got super bored and ended up drawing an NSFW comic. I know it was stupid, but just bear with me. I don't want to be too specific about where I work, but there are times during my shift when I walk around the building, so I ended up in the bathroom, continuing the drawing. At the time, I was only a few panels in. There wasn't anything explicit, just a guy talking to a girl in a typical NSFW scenario. I put the comic on the toilet to fix my clothes and must have forgotten it there. Normally, I'd pick it back up and put it in my pocket, but this time, I didn't. Honestly, I'm not sure where I left it, but I hope it was in the bathroom since there are cameras everywhere. About 10 minutes later, I found a different drawing in my pocket, not the one I'd left behind. So naturally, I panicked and went back to the bathroom to look for it, but someone was in the stall, so I just pretended to use the bathroom and left. I checked another bathroom an hour later, but the drawing wasn't there either. I was only at work for another hour after that, and I didn't hear anything about it. This means someone must have found it. Depending on who it was, they might have either thrown it away or reported it to HR. If it gets reported, my job could be in jeopardy, especially since they could easily check the cameras to see who was in the bathroom before the person who found it. If I'm questioned, I'll probably try to lie my way out of it. But if it backfires, I get what I deserve and might never get a job again. Moral of the story: don't draw dumb stuff at work, and if you do, keep track of it. Story 10. I am married, but in a dead bedroom situation. I work at a decently large company, and have a very attractive coworker in an office just down the hall with me. We flirt a lot and are quite comfortable and close with each other, but have never done anything that could be thought of as physical cheating. Last year, she had an affair with a guy, and she felt comfortable enough with me to share this fact. I've had my share of fantasies where she and I hook up as well, so knowing that she cheated on her husband already made it even hotter for me. I was in her office while she was out of the office for a vacation, trying to locate a file that she told me she had on her desk if I needed to double-check something on it. Well, while searching for it, I stumbled across a shoebox in her drawer. Inside the box was a pair of inners, lingerie, and a thumb drive. I'm not a good person, so I snooped and checked out the thumb drive too. Turns out, the inners were what she was wearing the night she cheated on her husband, and also on the thumb drive were her naughty photos of the event. This got my dong to wake up immediately. I was so wrapped up in that I shut my office door, turned out the lights, and crawled under my desk to do my thing into the inners. I then put the inners back in the box along with the thumb drive, not before making a copy of the photos for myself, and put it all back in the drawer where I found it. I'm not a good person, but if my wife would just bang me, maybe I wouldn't have these issues. Story 11. A bit of backstory. We both went to the same engineering college in India. She dated one of my closest friends during our 4th year. Before that, she had dated a few seniors and classmates and had once drunkenly made out with another close friend in a cab. She was just an acquaintance to me before her relationship with my friend, but while they were together, we started talking and hanging out more. After they broke up, my friend moved on pretty quickly. She and I stayed in touch for about a year and a half, regularly checking in, but eventually, we lost contact. I knew she had been in more than a couple of friends with benefits situations with classmates during college. After graduation, we both moved to the US for further studies, but ended up in different states. I hadn't seen or spoken to her in over 4 years. Fast forward to now, over 4 years later. I was visiting a college friend in another city for his birthday and had completely forgotten that she lived there too. My friend invited her to the party. They're not particularly close but know each other, and I had no idea she'd be there. She showed up late, after we'd already had a couple of shots. I was surprised to see her, and we hugged. She looked pretty much the same, still as attractive as she was back in college. Back then, I never had any feelings for her. But seeing her last night, I suddenly found myself getting excited, especially by her perfume when we hugged. We drank, talked, and hit the dance floor with the rest of the group, a party of 8. Initially, everything felt normal, but as the drinks kept flowing, my memory of the night became blurry. I do remember one thing clearly. At some point, she hugged me on the dance floor and said she missed me. Later, she started dancing really close. I wasn't exactly innocent in it either. I instinctively held her hips as she kept going. My friend later told me that she was in my arms for most of the night, and even while we made our way back to his place. There were just 3 of us crashing at his place that night. When I woke up, I realized she and I had shared the same bed. Nothing happened, but I woke up with one of the stiffest stiffy of my life. She was still asleep, facing me, and I had this sudden urge to wake her up by kissing her, pulling her in, and making out. I've never had feelings like this for a friend before. This wasn't romantic or emotional, just purely lustful. Later in the morning, I dropped her off at her place. She hugged me, thanked me, and, to my surprise, gave me a quick kiss on the cheek before getting out of the car. I'm not sure if that's just something she does now or if it meant anything. We've been texting throughout the week, but nothing flirty so far. Some friends are going clubbing again tonight, and she'll be there too. I'm feeling nervous, but if I still get the same vibe, I think I'll make a move. Story 12. Last week, I came dangerously close to sleeping with my boss. We've worked together for 3 years, during which I went through a divorce, while he has remained in a long-term relationship that started before I even joined the company. We've always been close, but nothing inappropriate ever happened, despite the fact that I've met his girlfriend and family, gone bar hopping with him, and even been alone with him in a hotel room during work trips. Recently, I put in my resignation after landing an opportunity that could kickstart my career. On what we thought would be my last day, my boss invited me out for drinks. This wasn't unusual. We had gone drinking together before, sometimes with coworkers, sometimes just us. After the bar closed, we decided to grab a case of beer and head back to the office. There, we started reminiscing, laughing about how my ex-husband used to be jealous of my boss, though my ex was controlling and saw everyone as a threat, despite my faithfulness. Then, in a drunken moment of honesty, I admitted that when we had shared a hotel room, after my husband and I had already split, I had thought about sleeping with him. He looked me dead in the eye and said, "It's not too late." At first, I thought he was joking. He's sarcastic all the time. But he wasn't. Things escalated quickly, and while we didn't go all the way, we did enough. It was intense, passionate, and unlike anything I'd felt before. Sparks were flying, and after so long without being touched, the moment completely consumed me. Now, I feel awful because I want to finish what we started. But I also know his girlfriend, and I actually like her as a person. We both crossed a line, and yet, I still have another week left at this job, working alongside him. It's been a week, and neither of us has brought it up. Everything at work has been completely normal, except for the day I wore a tight shirt, and he couldn't seem to keep his eyes off me. He even gave me a small compliment. We're supposed to go out again tonight, and I feel like I'm at war with myself. Do I try to finish what we started or let that just be a one-time slip from us both? Story 13. I'm a second-year student at College A. This past Friday, I hosted a costume party at my place with around 50 people attending. One of the guests was a girl I'll refer to as Glass. We are casual friends, as we both play the same sport, and she goes to College B nearby. She doesn't match the traditional standards of attractiveness, but she's someone I had a friendship with. Around 2 or 3 a.m., when the party was winding down, Glass, who had been drinking, came on to me. After some hesitation, we ended up in my room. Looking back, I'm feeling a mix of confusion and regret about what happened. After about 45 minutes of banging, my rubber broke, and I decided to continue without it, which I had never done before. Shortly after, she abruptly stopped and was sick, vomiting into my trash can. That ended things for the night, and we both passed out. The next morning, things took an unexpected turn, and we ended up continuing. However, during this, I discovered that she had been sick again and that I was in an uncomfortable situation. I also realized that she had started her period, which was something I hadn't anticipated. I immediately told her that we needed to stop, and we both got dressed. I drove her home afterward. Now, I can't stop thinking about it. I feel really unsettled and regretful. I even find it hard to be in my own space because of how the situation unfolded. When my roommates asked about the night, I didn't share the full story and just said it was fine. I'm feeling conflicted and disappointed in myself and just needed to write this down to get it off my chest. Story 14. I walked into the movie theater bathroom to find my mom and my best friend banging. Last night, I went to my girlfriend's house because I couldn't sleep on the couch. I'm letting my mom stay in my room. I called my brother and sister about what was going on, and they suggested I tell mom to go home, which isn't really my style, but I appreciated the advice. After a few calls from my mom, I went back home, and she was ready for brunch, which we had planned for 11 a.m. I wasn't really in the mood, so I told her I didn't want to go. Instead, we sat down in the living room and talked about what had happened the night before at the theater. She apologized and said she never intended to put me in an awkward or embarrassing situation. To be clear, I'm not opposed to my mom having a healthy, intimate relationship and living her life. What bothers me is that she chose a public bathroom for something like that, especially while she was visiting me to reconnect. On top of that, my girlfriend, who I had been seeing for about a month, walked in on them, which definitely wasn't the best first impression. To make things more complicated, she was with my best friend, who she had just met that day. I calmly explained to my mom how I felt: embarrassed, upset, and disappointed. I didn't yell, but I did share my emotions openly with her. I know some people have commented that it wasn't really my business, and in a way, I get that. But being in the middle of this situation, seeing a side of my mom I hadn't seen before, has been tough. I'm also hurt that my friend didn't speak up to avoid complicating our friendship. I'm not kicking my mom out. She'll be here for 3 more days. Right now, she's keeping to herself, and I'm doing the same. We're both taking some time to process everything, and maybe later, we'll go out to sightsee if we're feeling up to it. Story 15. So, I've been sleeping with this guy's wife in complete secret since last August. I'm a single, well kind of single, 27-year-old male, and the only successful relationship I've had up to now, if you can call it that, has been going on since last August in complete secret. Last August, there was a terrible storm that came through town. Power lines were down all over the place, down trees. It was a mess. During that time, I learned that the surrounding community is a lot more valuable than I had given them credit for. People from across the county were bringing chainsaws and different things that helped break trees down and get them taken care of. After all of the help I received from complete strangers, I took it upon myself to check on my neighbors because, as I said, the damage was everywhere and a lot of work had to be done. There's a family there that I'll call the Smith family just for the sake of this story. The Smiths' backyard is massive, to say the least. I would estimate an acre, maybe two. Their damage was far worse than mine, not to say that mine wasn't bad. Anyway, there were a few guys that helped me, including her husband. It took us approximately 6 days to clean up the bigger branches and pieces of tree. I thank whatever deity there is that we didn't get any rain during those days, because that would have sucked so much. Toward the end of the 6th day, I was the only fella that stayed there. All of those other guys had to work the day after that, and there were a few branches that I could lift onto what became an enormous fire. So, I'm in the backyard by myself. The sun is setting, but I can still see around the yard just fine. His wife, who I will call Tabitha, offered me some ice water. I was pretty worn out, sweaty and panting. I'm sure you would be if you were huffing wood around, too. Maybe not. It's getting kind of late, so I figured I'd take her up on her offer and just pick up the rest of that crap during the next morning with sunlight on my side. I follow her to her front door to complete quietness. I assumed that everyone went to sleep. She led me to the kitchen, and sure enough, on the table rested a tall glass of ice water. I picked it up and chugged it. I gently set the glass back down and said, "Well, thanks for that, Mrs. Smith. I'll be back tomorrow to pick up the rest of that wood. There isn't much left anyway." She says, "Sounds good. My husband is working, and he was hoping someone would do that for him. See you tomorrow morning." The next morning, I got up around 6. I shower, I shave. I ate Pop-Tarts and an orange. It is approximately 7:15. I walked to Mrs. Smith's backyard and finished cleaning up. I would estimate it took me an hour. I had forgotten to put my watch on, so I couldn't tell you how long it was exactly. Anyway, after I'm done, I walk up to Mrs. Smith's front door and I knock on it. I was going to tell her that I was done and all that. She answers the door in a bathrobe. I should have gathered that something was about to take place then. Husband at work. Woman in bathrobe. Come on, man. She thanks me again and says that she wants to pay me for helping her. I insist that money was unnecessary. She says something about me letting the air-conditioned air out and invites me to come inside. I do, and then I reiterate that I didn't help them out for money. She puts her left index finger over my closed mouth and leads me into a bedroom. I kind of felt a little guilty at this time, but dude, if you were in that spot, I don't think you have said no. I couldn't bring myself to say anything. I knew what was about to happen, and I didn't attempt to stop it. She reached into the pocket of her bathrobe to reveal a rubber and threw it at me. It hit me directly on the nose. Then she removes her robe to reveal some really nice, full jugs. And the next thing you know, we're doing it. After we're done, she says, verbatim, "I don't want this to stop here." For the next week, I felt guilty and ecstatic all at the same time. I can't believe that this has happened in my life, and what's more, I can't believe it's still going on. I don't know what's happening in that marriage that has caused all of this to happen like this. Like, right now, I don't feel too bad. On a genuinely positive side of all of this, I found that this companionship has utterly destroyed my depression. That may be another story for another throwaway account. Anyway, I've been sleeping with Mrs. Smith every week since last August. As a matter of fact, I slept with her a few hours ago. I don't think it's my place to speculate that her husband is a D-bag or something, but I'm inclined to think that my appeal, or lack thereof, wasn't the only motivational factor that helped all of this to come about. I feel really odd and somewhat exhilarated when I see her with her husband at someplace. I've passed them at numerous grocery stores and we just exchange, "Hi, how's it going? I'm fine, how are you?" And that's it. I'm not really sure what I should do. My instincts tell me to just let the chips fall where they may because, honestly, I'm not at all disappointed with how this secret is working out for me. On the other side of that coin, I'm a bit worried that someday, her husband is going to read between the lines, and then he'll see what's going on. I've thought of asking her if she knows how this would affect her husband, but I'm at the point where she's irresistible to me. I've speculated that her husband is doing something similar with another woman, but I can't say for sure. It seems a little too convenient that she's able to set this time aside throughout the week to hook up with me, with no questions asked. Story 16. 2 nights ago, I had a fourscore with the guy I'm seeing, one of his closest friends, and my best friend. The guy that I'm seeing, let's call him Owen, is in an insane amount of distress and discomfort about the entire situation and hates that one of his friends, we'll call him Carl, saw me bare and was holding me. And now Owen no longer wants to be friends with that guy, although prior to this, they were very close friends. And then on the other hand, there's me, Carl, and my bestie, and we all seem pretty much fine with it. Like I feel a little bit like a nasty girl, but I also sort of just feel like a young-turned diva, and I think it's hilarious. I don't really know, I guess. I'm not looking for any advice. I just feel like I need to tell someone because we all came to the realization that we can't tell anyone that this happened, especially since me, Owen, and Carl all go to school together and are in the same friend group. So I'm not allowed to tell anyone about this, and every time I try to make jokes about it to Owen, he just says that it was disgusting. We are disgusting. That was disgusting. Just to give some more context, at no point did Owen seem uncomfortable. He was very much into pounding my best friend and I hooking up with Carl. But now I guess the post-seed clarity of it all, he feels disgusting, and I guess he's also saying that he felt really uncomfortable doing that. And of course that just makes me feel sad and bad and like an a-hole. But it's also hard because if at any point Owen said that he was uncomfortable, of course everyone would have stopped, so I just feel kind of bad for him. And I still want to be friends with Carl. I have no problem with it, but I feel like Owen is going to be mad at me if I do. Story 17. Found out that my mom was a corn star. When I was a little girl, I always thought my mom was so beautiful. My dad and her separated when I was only 13 months, but I remember so much. As a child, I thought she was a model because photographers would come over to her apartment and take her pictures. When they finally divorced, my dad asked for full custody, and she said that I would get in her way anyway. I didn't see much of her after I turned 5. Cut to 11 years later. I'm walking in DTLA with my best friend. I'm older now, and I'm a ringer for my mother. Like, dead-on look-alike, and this really repulsive-looking guy starts calling me by my mom's stage name. Me, totally clueless, insists that he's got the wrong person, until he says her real name, and I freak out. I get home, really upset, and demand answers from my dad. I love my dad more than anything in the world. He raised me, alone, and still helps me to this day. And he finally told me that my mom was a corn star. I was so upset. I cried all night. I went to school with red puffy eyes. The only person who comforted me at the time is now gone. But I digressed. I recently stumbled upon one of her many movies and immediately recognized her face. I didn't actually watch it, but I wanted to read the comments. It made my blood boil. People asking what became of her, and someone answering that she's married with kids now. If only I could tell people what a real piece of human garbage she really is, because she can't stay married to a good man for long. She has me and my half-sister and abandoned us both. Her current boyfriend is a total loser, and she stole a lot of money from her own mother shortly after her husband passed away. I don't have a lot of friends I can tell this kind of stuff to, and because I look in the mirror every day and see her face, it's very hard to live. But I know in my heart, we're polar opposites. Story 18. I ended up sleeping with my sort of boss. He isn't my direct supervisor, but he holds a very senior position at the large, public company I work for. We were out for work drinks, mostly just chatting, as we hadn't really spoken casually before. By the time I was pretty drunk, I said I was heading home, and I must have been invited to his place because that's where we ended up. Everything was consensual. There's a certain thrill to having a secret, but I'm concerned about the potential fallout, especially regarding my reputation. Has anyone else been in a similar situation? I doubt he'll say anything because it would look bad on him, and the only person who knows is my best friend, who thinks it's crazy. He's invited me out again, but I feel like I'm playing with fire. While it's nice to be treated well by someone with more money, I'm questioning whether I should cut ties. Are the potential power dynamics too risky, especially with work involved? Edit. Yes, I know I'm playing with fire here. Thanks to those who gave good advice instead of criticizing me. Spoiler alert. People go to work drinks and sometimes get drunk. On this night, he was buying me a lot of drinks, probably more than he should have. And looking back, I was much more drunk than he was, which raises serious concerns about potential coercion. I messaged him, saying there's too much at stake and I'd rather end it now. He said he was sad but understood, and even asked if we could still go for the date that had already been planned, but as friends. I told him no because anyone at work, it's a big company, might see us, and the age difference and power dynamics would make things look suspicious. He was nice about it, Said he wouldn't let anyone talk badly about me, and that he'd keep things respectful. I trust him, and I believe he doesn't want me to be affected negatively. I'm considering the whole thing a drunken mistake, but continuing this would be a sober choice, and that feels like too much of a risk. Also, this guy has no influence over my job performance or raises, but he's still senior in his department. We work in the media, and any gossip about this could hurt both of us. Thankfully, it seems like we're safe for now. He isn't upset, and I don't think he'd try to ruin me professionally just because I chose not to continue things. In the end, I decided it wasn't worth it for what turned out to be just mediocre bang. Story 19. I arranged to sleep with 2 older men yesterday, without anyone knowing at all. Just a quick blurb about myself. I am a 24-year-old small Asian girl, and I've found that many older, wealthy men have thing for people like me. I have a part-time job, but I'm also in quite a bit of debt, yay student loans, and I just feel like I'm constantly in a financial hole, so I'd like to be debt-free. I also have a pretty high drive and figured out a way to knock out 2 birds with 1 stone. Anyway, as the title says, I successfully slept with 2 men almost thrice my age yesterday. I say arranged because, well, they were. I am somewhat active on a website that allows for these kinds of arrangements to happen, and nobody knows it at all. I am not able to talk about these kinds of things with my friends or family. I don't exactly feel remorse, but I do feel this need to just tell somebody. I have been lurking Reddit for a long time, and I told myself that if I didn't die after meeting the second guy for the first time yesterday, I would finally and definitely make this hopefully liberating post. I started using the website in February of this year and have seen the first guy at least 5 times now. He's been really nice, but he also has a wife, and I have tried to stop seeing him at one point, but I caved because financially, I just needed to. I still need to. I don't like our sessions, but I don't dislike them. The second guy I met for the first time. His place is somewhat far from mine, but nothing too bad. He was fortunately very nice as well. He couldn't end it because the rubber was too constricting and he couldn't feel enough. So then, I just left, relieved that I wasn't murdered. On the drive home at around 5 p.m., the weather was really nice, and so I had the windows down and the music up. You know, like a typical movie scene. The only thing missing was my soulful gaze and tears that I would defiantly let drop and dry on my face. However, despite how wrong and gross I thought about what I was doing, I couldn't seem to feel anything at all. I drove home normally and interacted with my friends and family like I always have. I have always felt like I have too much to say, and at the same time, not enough at all. I have so many secrets, white lies, NSFW things like this, stealing, cheating, etc., that no one knows about at all, and sometimes, I just wish I could share it all. I don't know what is wrong with me. I do so many bad things, but I also feel like I do a lot of good things too. However, in the end, I sometimes feel like I don't feel anything at all. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update.